Alright, so let me set the scene for you. We're in the middle of Japan during the Edo period. The current shogunate has effed over everyone who needs to get effed over, so authorities busy themselves with their other favorite thing, aside from going to war, that is, capital punishment. We meet a guy named Gabimaru, and he's about to lose the ability to give silky smooth kisses because he's next up for a good old-fashioned beheading. His executioner takes a swing, but instead of severing our boy's head, his katana ends up breaking. He goes for a redo, but the results end up, pretty much the same. So Mr. Executioner's all like, what's your deal, bro? Just take the L. And Gabimaru's all like, me? Maybe you shouldn't have got your swords from Temu, asshole. Gabimaru meets an inspector for the shogunate named Yamada Asaemon Sagiri. Now, this lady is not your typical office worker, because Sagiri belongs to the Yamada Asaemon clan, the shogunate's exclusive contractors for taking criminal heads. Anyway, the authorities decide to change their game plan to send Gabimaru to the afterlife. They try burning him at the stake and stabbing him with a spear, but our boy's got buns of steel and survives. Sagiri gets an eyeful of Gabimaru's ripped, 4'2" body, and the boy tells his origin story to everyone around. We find out that Gabimaru is a ninja from the village of Iwakakuri. Their clan's boss flatlined his parents when he was a baby for some reason. From then on, he was raised to become an operative for the family. Now, we're getting ahead of ourselves here a bit, but all you should know is that Gabimaru is an absolute beast. He's the franchise player of the Iwakakuri ninja clan, but, as he puts it, he fell in love with the chief's daughter, which made him want to quit the life of an ace assassin. In turn, Boss Man screwed him over and handed Gabs to the authorities. Sagiri and the shogunate officials go, yeah, cool story, bro. We're gonna dismember you tomorrow. That cool? And Gabby's all like, yeah, you do you, babe. The next day comes, and Gabimaru is tied to some bulls to get ripped apart. Another execution attempt, another L for the shogunate. Sagiri tries to find out why Gabby just won't let himself die, but he's all, if I know. All this white-haired ninja boy knows is that his village chief screwed him royally, and he quote-unquote willingly got himself arrested just to get things over with. Sagiri's not convinced, and she later has a talk with one of her senpais, who tells her that Gabs actually dunked on 20 dudes when they first tried to arrest him. On top of that, Senpai says Gabs be bad news, homie, because there's a rumor going on that Iwakakuri ninjas have drunk the Elixir of Life, a mythical substance that gives you immortality, which comes from an equally magical place called Shinsenkyo. To Gabs' credit, even he doesn't know why he keeps hanging on to life. The next day, authorities decide to try another method on Gabimaru, this time boiling him alive. Spoiler alert, that shit done work. Out of options, the authorities task Sagiri with taking Gabby's head. Gabby complies and tells Bay to make it quick, but an otherwise quick slice to the neck ends in a Ninja v Hot Samurai scuffle when both Gabby and Sagiri realize that Ninja Boy really wants to go on living because he has a cute wife waiting for him at home. Sagiri realizes there's just no beheading this boy, so she makes him an offer that the shogunate will give him freedom if he joins an expedition to Shinsenkyo to grab the Elixir of Life. The authorities try and start some smoke with Sagiri, so she goes, Shogun's orders, and they're like, I don't see no Shogun here. So Gabby torches the wayward officials, and he and Sagiri head off to Tokyo, aka Edo period Edo. Gabby has a flashback of his daddy, who tells him to get good at chopping off heads. And soon enough, the duo reaches Edo, where they and a bunch of other condemned criminals who have taken a plea deal have a meeting with the Shogun Tokugawa Nariyoshi. The basic gist of it is that these hoods must go to Shinsenkyo, get the Elixir of Life, and all of their crimes would be expunged. We meet a few other players, like Adachi Matagoro, who wants to get the pardon so he can continue living the thug life. Then there's Yuzuriha, who's best described as a kunoichi, who probably got arrested for posting queef videos on her OnlyFans page. To that we say, let the girl go! But seriously, Yuzuriha was put on death row for killing a bunch of dudes. Sexily! Then there's Azachobe, a bandit leader, Tamiya Gentetsusai, an uncle who likes cleaving things, and Rokurota, who's a big boy. The shogunate's debriefing continues, and they tell the criminals that none of the people they've sent have come back alive from Shinsenkyo. Instead, they either go MIA or come back as morbidly pretty human ikebana arrangements. And so, we come to the crux of this meeting. The shogunate reveals that there are too many aspiring criminals up in this. So the only way to settle the finalists would be to go through a battle royale. Gabby reluctantly joins, dunks on a few randos, and the final list of participants are announced. It's got Gabby and all those other criminals we named earlier. Their magical quest starts, and each participant is paired up with a Yamada Asaemon executioner, in in case they get froggy. At least Gabs gets to partner up with Sagiri, proving that game is game regardless of your height. Gabs, Sagiri, and the other goons soon find themselves on the shores of Shinsenkyo. And, well, it looks like paradise. But make no mistake, because this is Hell's Paradise! Anyway, they arrive and learn that the Chill Island is less Bahamas than it is World War II era Guadalcanal. For starters, one of the other criminals goes, well, full criminal, and decides to ambush Gabi and Sagiri. This dude's name is Twisted Kayun, and his babysitter is another one of Sagiri's senpais named Kisho. Kayun starts some smoke with Gabi and shows him his nerdy weapons collection, so our boy defends himself by using this meathead as a human pincushion. Kisho notices that Kayun is still alive after Gabi cucks him and beheads the fool. Kisho's not really one for crappy beach vacations, so he's all like, well, my job's done here, I'll be taking this head and I'll see you nerds on the boat, peace! But then, Gabi's recent W gets to his head, so he tries to screw over Sagiri. The lucky ninja gets physical with Bae, but Gabimaru shows us he's just a soft boy deep inside when he stops himself from taking Sagiri's life. Good choice, bro. Very good choice. Keep in mind though, Gabi is ride or die. It's not that he wants to get with Sagiri, it's just that he really just wants to get this whole Elixir of Life over and done with so that he can return home to his wife. We haven't even gotten to Shinsenkyo's tourist attractions either. That happens when Gentetsusai and his assigned head chopper Yamada Asaemon Fuchi come across a pretty little butterfly while walking along the island. Except, this butterfly is pure evil. It's got a creepy human face and it tries to turn Gentetsusai into a tree person after getting to the man's hand. Gentetsusai is forced to slice off his own hand to prevent himself from becoming a human flower pot. Shortly after, a bunch more of Shinsenkyo's wildlife surround our characters. And by wildlife, we mean creatures who look like the fever dream of an ex-Buddhist monk who just injected fentanyl straight into his eyeballs. Gentetsusai and Fuchi have a bit of a heart-to-heart, as the master swordsman tells his babysitter how he ended up on death row. The long and short of it is that Gentetsusai is a party dude, but he partied too hard one day and ended up flatlining a daimyo. On the other hand, Fuchi tells his story, and we discovered that he's just a quiet boy who prefers to stay at home mixing all sorts of new poisons. While this is happening, Gabi and Sagiri face off against a horde of monstrosities. Our white-haired protagonist gets to work and manages to protect Sagiri, even though he won't admit that. Afterwards, our favorite purple-haired e-girl, Yuzuriha, arrives at Gabi and Sagiri's location with her minder, Yamada Asaemon Senta, and another executioner named Genji. You see, Genji was in charge of keeping tabs on another one of the criminals, Moro Makia. But that guy had a run-in with Yuzuriha earlier. She killed him, is what we're saying. She killed him. Sexily! Yuzuriha puts on a free show for Gabimaru to tempt him into teaming up with her. And it's at this point that we here at the channel are convinced we wouldn't survive 5 minutes in the Hell's Paradise universe. Because if a hot girl with tons of side boobage going on tries to put the moves on us, you can bet the next thing coming out of our mouths would be, yes ma'am, and God bless Japan, we don't even mind the chlamydia. But this is Gabimaru we're talking about, so he answers Yuzuriha's offer with an armbar. Their negotiations are cut short when Sagiri passes out after realizing one of the island's freaky fauna poisoned her. Meanwhile, Chobei and his own babysitter, Yamada Asaemon Toma, have to deal with their own monster horde in another part of Shinsenkyo. Spoiler alert, Toma's actually in cahoots with Chobei, because they're literal bros. This scuffle ends with Toma letting his brother cook while Chobei goes full John Wick on the monsters. Later, Gabi and his crew set up camp somewhere in Shinsenkyo. Sagiri regains consciousness, and the ninja boy tells the group that he did some recon work earlier, where he saw that most of the island's plants were actually the remains of the previous men the shogunate sent here. Senta takes this as an invitation to give them a lecture about Buddhist iconography, and everyone's all like, what about the monsters, though? And Senta goes, yeah, I'm currently not taking any questions from the audience right now. Soon after, Genji approaches Sagiri and tries to take her job. You see, most of the other Yamada Asaemon clan members don't want to put respect to Sagiri's name, even though she's great at beheadings and clerical work, on account of she has a pair of perky plums under her overcoat, and her undercarriage probably smells like sweet sakura blossoms in late March. They're misogynists is what we're saying. Of course, Sagiri tells Genji to step off because Ain't no way he's mooching off her hard work. Senta arrives and pretty much supports Sagiri's case, because Senta is a stud and anyone would be lucky to date the guy. Somewhere else, Yamada Asaimon Tenza and his assigned criminal, Nurugai, try to escape Shinsenkyo by boat after learning that it's basically a floral-themed hellhole. But the pair ends up getting washed ashore after more monsters go after them. The two eventually spot Kisho when they get back on land, only to find out that this lazy samurai executioner had already fallen victim to the island's freaky flower powers. Nurugai and Tenza decide to dry off their clothes after that. And if you were wondering about Nurugai, this criminal is just a kid. Like, they're right on the cusp of puberty. Plus, Nurugai is actually a girl. Her only crime is that she belongs to a tribe of indigenous natives somewhere around Japan called the Sanka, a tribe that the shogunate loves cleansing. In any case, Tenza finds out that Nurugai is just a really butch brown girl before the duo continue their journey to find a way off this island. Meanwhile, Senta and Gabi each give Sagiri a much-needed pep talk, telling her that she deserves to be here. Here in this job, we mean, not on this monster-infested island. Sagiri gets an ego boost and chooses to confront Genji the next day. Genji pretty much tells Sagiri to go back to the kitchen, and Bei was just about ready to put this sexist meathead in his place when big boy Rokurota appears behind Genji and carves him. Sagiri and Gabi team up to bring down Rokurota before linking up with Yuzu and Senta, and the squad stumbles upon a Japanese Scooby-Doo looking settlement. Meanwhile, Toma and Chobei are just minding their own business when they luck out and spot a hot couple in the nude snowballing some Momo juice. The siblings enjoy the free show until the couple spots them. They're all, care to join us, boys? But Toma's like, I've got a bad feeling about this, bro. Chobei's hearing none of it, so he's all, hold on, I want to see where this is going. Well, it's going somewhere weird, because for one, neither of the lovers in front of them has nipples, not to mention either an AC or a DC between their legs. Oh, and one of them, the one with the D cups, magically transforms into a dude. So Chobei's like, yeah, sorry, I'm not really into TS. Great pecs, though. At the same time, Gabi and his squad scout the abandoned village and fail to notice a pink-haired girl wearing a hood stalking them from behind. The gang eventually notices the young girl, and she is one smart cookie. Instead of doing the totally American thing of chatting up these weirdos, the little girl runs the other way. Gabi and the gang follow her until a strange giant made of wood attacks them. They scrap a bit, and we also get to see our girl Yuzu earn her keep with the help of her own ninjutsu powers. Yuzuriha's powers make her wet. We mean super wet, like so wet that it's gross. Just kidding, you know we're into that shit. But everything works out and they all become friends. The gang discovers that Tree Man isn't like the other monsters on the island since he can talk. He calls himself Hoko and introduces the young girl as Mei. From there, Hoko dumps some exposition on our heroes and gives them the lay of the land. As he puts it, Shinsenkyo is made up of 3 regions. There's Eishu, also known as the Outer Forest, Hojo, the same abandoned village they're currently in, and there's Harai, the innermost part of the island, where Hoko says they can find the Elixir of Life, which is locally known as Tan. Here's the thing, though. Remember those 2 androgynous hotties sucking face in front of Toma and Chobei earlier? They're actually part of a race of beings called the Tensen, immortals who regularly chug that sweet Tan to become immortal. The Tensen also have freaky dicky powers, which we already saw when one of them switched sexes without needing to go to Thailand. Back at the Bandit Bros, we see that the 2 Tensen, whose names are Jufa and Taofa, have easily dunked on the boys. They throw them into a pit, and it's here we find out that Tan is created from the flowers that spring out from the desiccated corpses on the island. At the village, Sagiri and the crew decide to take a load off and have a hot bath because they stank from all the killing they've been doing ever since they got here. While all this is happening, Tenza and Nurugai continue to find a way off Shinsenkyo. Tenza has a flashback where we find out that he used to be a homeless kid until one of the Yamada Saimon clan's masters, Shion, adopted him to become part of their head-chopping family. He and Nurugai become closer, and we'll even say that there's some romantic chemistry going on here. On second thought, now that sounds kind of creepy. Tenza and Nurugai's search for an escape route is cut short when another member of the Tensen, Suji, suddenly appears on the beach, and they're not here to take a dip. Suji attacks the 2 because the Tensen are a bunch of whose sole purpose is to turn people into Tan. Tenza comes up clutch and manages to hack the David Bowie look But Tsuji regenerates after a few seconds and proceeds to chase them. Tenza and Nuragai run deep into the forest until they're forced to confront Tsuji again. Our blonde swordsman slices their enemy again, but Tsuji activates their X-Factor. Again. Fortunately, backup arrives when Tenza's master and big bro figure Shion arrive to help the duo deal with the crazy Tan junkie. They realize there's just no talking down this androgynous a-hole, so they end up retreating together. The coast clears and we find out that Shion clocked out early from his babysitting job after slicing off his assigned criminal, Akaginu, because this devious hottie didn't know that no means no. Just like Tenza and Nuragai, Shion just wants out of this crappy vacation. Before they could come up with a solid plan to leave Shinsenkyo, however, Tsuji reemerges and hits Shion right in the throat. Don't worry, this blind daddy is still alive. He just lost the ability to speak temporarily. Knowing that there's no other way, Tenza takes one for the team and sacrifices himself so that both Shion and Nuragai can escape their assailant. R.I.P. Tenza. Back at the village, Gabi gets antsy and decides to head off into the heart of the island alone. But instead of coming across a chilled bottle of Tan, Gabi ends up coming face to face with Tsuji. As you'd imagine, another epic beatdown ensues when the two put hands on each other. Tsuji gets all arrogant, knowing that they've already killed Tenza, but boy is this gender-bending B-word about to get a lesson in humility.
Tsuji ends up losing chunks of their face and body before fully expiring when Gabi activates Ultra Instinct mode and literally punches the Tensen out of existence. Hey, if your enemy keeps on regenerating, you just gotta beat him faster before they can do so. I mean, that's some sound fight science right there. Tsuji goes for a last-ditch effort to kill Gabimaru before transforming themselves into a plant monster. However, Gabi digs deep and literally torches his enemy. Tsuji tries to take down Gabi with them, but Mei arrives and rescues our boy. Tsuji dies, and Tenza is probably giving out high fives in samurai heaven. Somewhere else, Hoko takes it upon himself to help Sagiri, Yuzu, and Senta get to Hirai. Hoko sheds more light on the state of things, like how the Tensen are basically 7 immortal sages who sprang up from a single sage. Plus, Hoko and all the other people who used to live here turned to trees after the Tensen attempted to distill them into Tan. Meanwhile, the remaining Tensen have a meet cute at their villa to freebase some of that Tan. They're concerned that Tsuji has been killed, but they all pretty much conclude their meeting with yet screw that guy, more Tan for us. Somewhere else, Gabi wakes up and he and Mei link up with Gentetsu-sai and Fuchi. Gabi, Mei, Gentetsu-sai, and Fuchi decide to work together. Both Mei and Hoko explain how they can beat the Tensen to their respective squads. The long and short of it is that you have to hit them in their weak point called the Dantien, a spot found just below the navel. At the same time, Shion has now taken Nuragai under his wing, and the young girl pleads with him to teach her the fine art of head chopping. While all this is happening, Chobei and Toma manage to get out of their flower pit but are ambushed by a horde of monsters. One of the monsters that attacks them is called a Do-Shi. Unlike the others, this one has a mind of its own. The bandit bros show us there are a couple of units on the battlefield, but Chobei bites the dust when the Do-Shi hits him with a sneaky tentacle. So Toma's all, "No, brother of mine! Curse you all to hell! I shall avenge thee!" Curiously though, Chobei regenerates from his wounds and goes, "Jesus, calm down, man. It's all good in the hood." What's more is that Chobei can now see the Tao. The Tao is this life force flowing through every living thing, not very much unlike the OG real-world Eastern philosophical concept. We won't get into it too much, but all you should know is that you have to master Tao and balance and all that jazz to find your enemy's weak points while giving yourself a power boost. You know, classic shonen stuff. You see, Chobei is a survivor, to say the least. He's been eating the raw flesh of the monsters they've killed this whole time. Because, I mean, hey, a meal's a meal and man's gotta eat. On top of that, some of the flowers in the pit have gotten inside his system. This ultimately mutated Chobei and gave him his brand spanking new powers. The bandit bros ultimately beat their attackers thanks primarily to Chobei's Tao sensing and regenerative abilities. And their sick tricks, of course. Never forget those sick tricks. Meanwhile, Gabi and Uncle Gentetsu-sai get into it with another Do-Shi and his swarm of insects. Mei ends up getting her verbally challenged butt kidnapped and taken back to Tensen when Fuchi figures out how to harness the Tao. Fuchi shares this information with Gabi, which allows our ninja boy to turn into a Jedi and school the Do-Shi and his insect swarm. They win, but Gabi gasses out. Somewhere else, Hoko and his group finally reach the entrance to Hirai when another Tensen, Mudan, instantly starts some smoke with our heroes when he slashes off Hoko's head. Yuzu, Sagiri, and Senta join forces to beat this immortal tyrant, all the while unlocking their Dao skills in the process. But things end on a bitter note when Mudan transforms into a flower monster and shoots darts at Yuzu. Senta proves he's the bestest of the best boys in the series when he jumps in and sacrifices himself to save the wettest kunoichi this side of Edo. Right in the eyes too, good. Down one man, Sagiri and Yuzu think it's the end. But then, Shion and Nurigai arrive to give them some much needed reinforcement. Shion reveals that he already knows how to channel Dao because he's been using it to compensate for his blindness. However, he admits he can't play Iso Ball against Mudan since the dude is a literal flower monster now. The others agree to triple team this petal-headed D-bag. Meanwhile, Nurigai slices off the flowers growing from Senta's head to at least prevent him from becoming Tan juice. Senta's not long for this world now, but big players make big plays. Instead of slipping off into the darkness like a fart in the wind, Senta takes point and helps the group locate Mudan's kinky weak spot, which happens to be somewhere around his creepy ovule. Shion hacks Mudan and their enemy finally dies. Yuzu comforts Senta, and our boy passes on. When the dust settles, Sagiri, Shion, Nurigai, and Yuzu take refuge inside a tower within Hirai and come to the conclusion that they have to drop this whole criminal babysitter headsman setup and just work together to get the hell off this island. Yuzu starts to think this whole Elixir of Life deal is fake news, but Sagiri insists that it's facts and mentions the same story Gabi told him about how the Iwakakuri ninja clan's chief has taken a drink of this magic tonic. Sagiri's all, I'm telling you guys, Gabi told me, and Yuzu's all like, ooh, Gabi this, Gabi that, girl, you're wetter than me right now. Yuzu thinks that the Iwakakuri chief used genjutsu to create false memories within his ninja ranks, which she surmises made Gabi believe that there's really an immortality-giving elixir. On top of that, Yuzu starts to doubt that Gabi even has a wife. You know, because it's not too far-fetched to think that his boss probably planted a false memory in our boy to keep him under his thumb. But Sagiri is having none of it, and she storms off. Shion follows her and is all like, girl, do you have a case of reverse Stockholm syndrome? And Sagiri's all, what? It's when you fall in love with your hostage? But Sagiri insists that she's not hot for Gabi, and that she really just wants to help him get back with his wife. Somewhere else, our white-haired ninja regains consciousness, only to find out that he's become some kind of stereotypical RPG protagonist, because now he's lost memories of his wife. Back on the mainland, the shogunate prepares to send in an entirely new squad of Yamada Asaemon swordsmen to investigate what happened to the previous batch they sent. And that's it, guys. This has been Hell's Paradise Season 1. We hope you loved watching this. Don't be shy. Hit us up in the comments section below to let us know what you think about the video, as well as if you have any other manga, manhwa, or anime series you want us to cover next. We'd really appreciate it if you could help us make more videos like this by hitting that like, share, and subscribe button with your notifications turned on. And if you like this one, we're sure you're going to love the next one. So feel free to check that one out too. Stay safe out there, people, and we'll see you in hell! It was paradise. Okay, bye!